This is, as I mentioned earlier, this is National Preparedness Month. Matthew Rieske, with the emergency manager for White Pine County, is going to talk about some things that you need to be aware of. Because one of the things, I was delighted when we were going to talk about that. Of course, one of the things that everybody needs to have is an emergency battery-powered radio. And we have links to one that you can get for less than $20. And I showed Matthew my little X data here. Get it now before the tariffs might kick the price up, but still under $20. That's a good thing to have.
It's very handy to have.
Yeah, pop in there a little closer to that so they can hear you better. But you can get that. You go to KELY1230.com, click the link there and get it, because it is definitely worth your having. But one of the things that you should have, even more importantly, is, as we have taught, you've heard Dave Ramsey talk about this, having 6 months stashed away in an emergency fund, not necessarily in investments, but in an emergency fund. And I will confess this: I do not use a local bank for my emergency fund. I use Discover Bank because they're paying 3.8% on a savings account, and I can get at that money within 6 hours or less, because I have a Discover debit card that I can access that. And I know that's going to make, it's like the people at First National Bank of Ely don't already hate my guts, but but you get the reasonable return on the money, and that's an important thing, is to have that 6 month savings, isn't it?
Or even, like Dave Ramsey teaches, having that
6
$1,000 as a start to your emergency fund, because how often do we have personal emergencies?
Yes.
That's the most common kind of emergency. We want to look at the movies, right, and have a meteor or a massive wildfire or volcano, but how often does that actually happen? It doesn't happen that often, but how often do we have our car break down? Do we have a problem in our house? Or do we lose a job and we just need that buffer to help us until we can get back on our feet?
That $1,000 to start with is good, but that 6 months, my goodness, if you paid yourself 10% out of every paycheck and stuck it away in something like a high yield savings account, that 3 years by having my car paid off and putting those car payments, what would have been those car payments, into the old car and into a high yield savings account.
Yeah, that's one thing that my wife and I have done. Was we got our emergency fund, but we've also got a car and home fund. So every month we put a little bit away into there, and so when we have a house problem or a car problem or even just our regular maintenance, we take it out of that fund, and so now it's not coming out of our regular checking account, and now we got to eat ramen for a week or something in order to make sure we're not going into debt.
Well, and that's where the whole Ramsey plan comes into effect. You don't splurge all the time. You don't do all the stuff, and you live, what as Dave says, you live for a period of time like nobody else, so that later on you can live and give like no one else. And that is, I can tell that you are a believer in living the skinny life. Although you and I are not skinny, but but it's living well within your means.
Yes,
And that's what people have to learn to do all over again. And sadly, a lot of the people that we listen to, that listen to us this morning, have already learned that lesson. They are living well within their means. If you got some debt, it's going to be your house, and that's almost a necessity. But even then, you can get past that, can't you?
Mm-hmm.
Very, 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 very easy to do. And of course, and now all month long, you and I are going to meet here on Thursday mornings. We're going to talk about this stuff. It is, even though it is September, we tell everybody that you got to start getting ready for all the little things, because we haven't had bad winters at all. They've been, nice winters, but we've got to be ready, and that means when you're driving, you've got to be prepared for that snowstorm to break out at no notice. I mean, could you imagine today if that Arctic blast that you and I were talking about during the break, we watched coming in from the north? Could you imagine if that was a little harsher, and all at once the temperatures at night dropped to about 20, and we were only getting up to about 40 during the day? These rainstorms we're seeing right now would be some significant snow.
Yeah, or at very least turn to ice.
Yeah, and so that's where, being prepared. It's like when I take my drives, I've got myself a nice big power bank that I take with me in the car now, so that I don't have to absolutely depend on the car to keep my electronics going. And I can connect here to the station when need be. But being prepared is not just a catchphrase during the month of September, not just a Boy Scout thing. It is a way of life that you have to live, because if you don't, you're going to find hard times.
It's true. And when I was a Boy Scout, speaking of Boy Scouts, when I was a Boy Scout leader, we would tell our boys, be prepared, not just because it's the motto, but it's because when you're prepared, it turns something bad into an adventure instead of a disaster.
Exactly. That's the good part. What do you want people to do this month to start getting ready?
So again, if you don't have an emergency fund, start. Look at your budget. Like you mentioned, 10% or even $10 every paycheck, and just put it away and start building that emergency fund. That's our first step. I was listening to an interview with a gentleman that survived a wildfire, and his family had to evacuate, and they ended up having to live in a hotel for a week. And I would much rather help for a week than a public shelter for a week.
And if you have that money set aside, strive toward that 6 months in an emergency fund before you start worrying about investing for retirement. Tomorrow morning, we have our spiritual commentary tomorrow. Paul Pogborny, I believe, is scheduled to be with us tomorrow morning. And we will be talking about food bank and what's going on there. And we will see you tomorrow morning at 8:05. Do not be late without a note from home. We will see you. Harry Ray's with us tomorrow from Sacred Heart Catholic Church. See you tomorrow.